Well, we've just gone through our second long night in a row here at Shelbourne Park. 13 heats over 3.5 hours. Kevin, it was enthralling from start to finish. It feels like a marathon, doesn't it? Like we got there. 26 heats done now. We're down to the final 96. It took a little bit of working out the fastest sports and whatnot, but we've got a very talented field remaining.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't said we've seen the Derby winner, because I think we've done this 6 or 7 years now, and this is the normally interview you always say we've seen the Derby winner now. Yeah, but
what is it?
Yeah, I don't know. You could pick a few of them. Look, it was high quality action again tonight, wasn't it? For me, I think arguably the performance of the whole round came tonight, which we'll touch on a little bit later on, but you could have earmarked 5 or 6 in particular that really stood out. And as we've seen in years gone by, there's definitely 3, 4, 5 dogs that haven't performed tonight or haven't grabbed the headlines tonight that will come out in round 2 and just take off. It happens every year, so let's get stuck into it.
Yeah, let's get stuck into it. Without doing a spoiler, I dare say the performance of the round came from White Dog, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Heat 14, the first of tonight's heats. Bucklesbutt Crystal was the warm favourite. She missed the kick, unlike her previous outing here at Shelbourne Park when she, beat a certain Crafty Coco into 4th. Tonight, Crafty Coco went up that little bit better. I think this lady is really coming to the peak of her powers. She stepped out on the corner to avoid the traffic, and then when the gap opened up in the rail in the second bend, she cut in. She's third down the back straight, or early in the back straight, but it was over as a contest. Out front, it was Bucklesbutt Crystal having a battle with Cushy Concord, but it was a case of they couldn't see which way Crafty Coco went. She took off into the third bend, went to the front, stormed home to win by 7 lengths no less in 29.71. She's a very, very, very fast lady.
She is. She's uber talented, and she's been that way for a while now. I'm sure some people might have raised their eyebrows at her running here recently, given that she'd come through the Cork Cut and then she came here BoyleSports Champions Stakes final night, won the 750 on that card. She appeared again in a 550. I thought maybe she'd enough done to enter a campaign, but it was a master stroke by the Divley team, because she just blew off the cobbles for the 4-bend trip. It suited her back today. She was much sharper, much
She's got
cleaner.
A bit of confidence as well.
Exactly.
Makes a big difference.
Oh, huge. And the moves she made down the back when she switched inside, they were going 3 abreast down the back straight, but the winner, she was all over the winner going into the third bend, took command of the race from there. And like you said, 7 lengths. It's the distance she puts between herself and good dogs in a very limited distance from the last bend to the line, which is so impressive. I know we clocked from the third bend to the line. If you clocked from the last bend to the line, there wouldn't be many in the Derby that do quicker than her.
I'm not sure there's any. 12.16 from the third bend home. By my reckoning of the dogs that led at the third bend sectional, she was certainly the fastest home. We'll move on in a moment. Bucklesbutt Crystal, didn't happen for her tonight. She missed the kick. We know she can go up much stronger than that, and she can certainly do better than the 29.70. Like that, she's beaten 7 lengths, so we'll forgive her for that run. She'll want to be finding her traffic boots. Cushy Concord will need to be at his very best, and Brian Offit Jensen didn't qualify, I believe. So we'll move on. On to Heat 15, and here, finishing in 12.18 off 17.15 to the third bend was Bobsleigh Dream. She was surprisingly not even favoured. It was Hoodoo Brown that was installed favourite. The shrewd money came for him, but it didn't look too shrewd after 2 strides with Bobsleigh Dream popping out of trap 2. We knew by her runs in the Tipperary Cup that she was strengthening up, getting back to her very best, and when she leads, she's not picked up. Tonight she wins fairly comfortably. She wins by 10 lengths in 29.33. Fastest run of the night. Pat Buckley delighted, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. This lady, I saw her running in Limerick earlier in the year and really stood out. She's gone to Thurles, run away with the stake down there recently, and it looks like she's gone from strength to strength. To me, I actually did fancy Hoodoo Brown myself in this race. I just thought that there might be the Gaga Carla might just get away and give him a lovely toe into the race, but as things unfolded, he just found so much traffic problems. It is his Achilles heel. He just doesn't have the area to get himself out of trouble, but my God, the ability that dog has is
he was dead and buried down the back straight. He came home like a train.
I'd say at one point in the race he must be close to 20 lengths off the pace, and that's not even an exaggeration.
And he's beaten 10.
And he's beat like that, and in 29.33, like the engine he has is incredible. Take nothing away from the winner. She was paw perfect tonight. If she does 17.15 to the third bend most nights, she'll be very hard to beat because she is uber strong as well. If she can keep trapping, I think that's the key to her.
Yeah, it was testament to her when she's doing 12.18. Crafty Coco doing 12.16 home. That says what That's what it's all about. She really is doing the clock.
You're the man with the clocks. What was Hoodoo Brown doing from the third bend?
I don't know, but 11:10. Moving on to Heat 16. Here, Galloping Sydney came in for strong support, Kevin. Very strong support. Somewhat surprised me. He did stumble slightly at boxes. It actually helped him. because going up on the outside of him was Mary's Wedding and Tommy Too Many. They were buckling it out for the lead into the opening corner. He arrived at just the right spot, gave them a little nudge. They got involved in crowding and he slipped on clear. Tommy Too Many then has to go back to fourth spot, comes charging through, slips up the inside of the third bend, then on the outside to make his challenge up the home straight. And I'm going to say it's a short neck. Like, it is a neck, but it's not quite a full neck, shall we say. 29.66. I thought Tommy Too Many was a little bit unlucky, but Galloping Sydney took his chance. He's got terrific early speed.
Yeah, he does, and Tommy Too Many was unlucky. This lad was an eye catcher in the Kirby. He was one of the unknown dogs, or the lesser, I suppose, known dogs in the latter stages of the Kirby. Stood out, looked like a real eye catcher. It seemed to have gone off the boil because he was running an A2 tri-distance stake in Limerick before the start of this competition. That was much more like Tommy Too Many that I saw.
He was 8-11 in the final.
Well, it was a master stroke to get him into the competition, I suppose, but it was much more like it tonight. Like, his trial here recently, 29.99, wouldn't look all that impressive, but much better.
I saw the trial. I was here for that trial session and I liked it. Okay. I thought he moved very well. That was the day that Mustang Jet did 29.57. Fastest trial by some margin. Well, himself and Ballamboo led, but I liked the trial. I thought he looked very fluent around the place.
Yeah, no, and like you said, he was a little bit unlucky there tonight, so you could shave a little bit off that clock for him. He was a real nice prospect early on in the year if he trains on. Galloping Sydney, like you said, lovely draw, lovely card so far, and has got great early pace. That's going to be the key to that dog progressing. Marie's Wedding, I was a little disappointed with her when she started. I thought she was away, and it just that nudge at the bend just seemed to really put her off her stride. And look, she's been an outstanding bitch against bitches. We know it's harder when they're up against dogs and they take those bumps, but look, hopefully that she'll get a clearer passage next week, because she's a lot better than what we saw.
She went through as a fastest fourth, and she's in one in the draw next week, so she does have a better draw. Druby's Gravy did qualify as well, was really on the heels of Galloping Sydney down the back straight, but just couldn't hold Tommy Too Many into the third bend. A dog that probably will need to get off the front, Druby's Gravy. Moving on to Heat 17, we knew this was going to be a battle of the real early speedsters, and Bucklesbutt certainly didn't let us down. He flashed from trap 6, Velasco not so much from the inside, but showed tremendous early speed. We've spoken about Velasco before. This dog has stunning early dash. The 550 does test him. I think this is very much just getting him ready for the Puppy Derby challenge. He's a very tricky draw the next night, so he may well not go much further, but I'll tell you one thing, he's going to worry any dog he's racing against into the corner, because he's stunning early speed. But Bucklesbutt I'm going to say rallied off the second bend. Velasco had joined him, but Bucklesbutt went on again, led down the back straight, and then just outstayed Velasco. Stories Pee-wee came out of the clouds to grab second spot. Very encouraging first run back in Ireland for him, and to qualify in second. Velasco just held off Druby's Rocker to grab third, but as it was, Druby's Rocker went through as a fastest fourth. But no, a very, very likeable display by Bucklesbutt, and one that you could sort of nearly go a little bit under the radar, because you're watching how Velasco had raced up to him into the bend and whatnot, but I think he's banged there as a Derby player.
He was my performance of the night up until nearly the second last race. I was mightily impressed with this run. I'll tell you why. We know what he can do to the third bend. He's as quick as anything, well, along with Velasco to the third bend. But what I really liked about him was, normally when those early pacers get taken on, sometimes they can get beaten, but also their clock can, it can really take it out, and that they're even exerting themselves even more than what they were. I really liked how Bucklesbutt had knuckled down. I know Velasco was probably backpedaling more than Bucklesbutt was pulling away, but 29.40, that's his best ever run over the 550-yard trip. If you said that to me when you watched him in the Champion Stakes when he got loose, and you watched him even before the Champion Stakes when he got loose and he dominated and ran away with it, you wouldn't have thought that the night that he was taken on early he'd actually go 2 lengths quicker than he's ever gone before. I was very, very impressed with Bucklesbutt tonight. You look at the last previous number of years, the Derby winners, the New Inn Taylors, Susie Sapphires, where did they do it? They do it from the first bend to the third bend. That lad'll burn off an awful lot of them to the third bend, and I think of the better early pacers in this Derby, he probably stays a little bit better than the majority of them. He's at the top of my list of if I was having a bet, he'd be firmly in contention. I must say a word for Stories Pee-wee. This dog, we knew how good he was here. He moved to England. It didn't really work out for him. He's back in the hands of Murty Latty, and what a first run back again. He's just an iron dog and a real good competition type dog.
Yeah, 17.07 for Bucklesbutt. Had been taken on with a dog of his inside. 17 seconds is well within his round,
Exactly.
and perhaps even faster. That's Derby winning type form. Moving on to Heat 18, and here Flaming Moneybags for the 2 leash for Kilkenny Syndicate. From the sounds of him every night he runs, I think it's more like 22 leash, 44 Kilkenny. They are getting some spin out of this dog. You know, tonight was win number 13 out of 32 starts. He just does everything. He starts, he moves well down the back, and he's getting the 550 yards a lot better than I thought he might have done. Just a really fun greyhound. Thoroughly likeable is the term I've used to describe him for the last few weeks, and I think it sums him up. He's a big 81 pounder, but he's electric from boxes. He gets home, and they're going to have some sport with him.
Yeah, well, we just literally were raving about Bucklesbutt, who went off nearly favourite for the Champion Stakes, and we're talking about him at the top end of your anti-post list. Flaming Moneybags comes out in the following race, is only less than 2.5 lengths off him on the clock. Like, he is that feel-good story, and I think it's obviously a great storyline throughout the Derby, but don't underestimate this lad. He's more than just a name in the hat and people get in behind him. This lad is putting runs together, beating Crafty Bonanza last time out. That run tonight, he stepped up on it again. 17:23 to the third bend. Like, he's going to be in front or in the front end most nights. Obviously there's a couple in it that can go up quicker, but yeah, like you said, for anyone that was outside, the atmosphere when this dog comes, and you even hear Imelda Groward, our well-known photographer here, and she loves the dog, and it just goes to show, like, you really want those storylines throughout the Derby. And yeah, he's definitely a feel-good story, but more than capable.
Yeah, he's more than just a story, shall we say. Ballymac ran a big race in second spot. If she was with anyone else but Liam Dowling, we'd be sort of raving about her. She's probably about the 4th or 5th fastest he has, but she's quick. You know, she lost her sort of pitch around the opening 2 bends, and then came rallying again. Looked for a moment around the last 2 bends like she was going to get there, but as I said, Flaming Moneybags stees it out, and he wins by, I think it was 2.5 in the finish. Macho Pride ran well in third, and that was a bit more like the old Macho Pride. Had to check across heels off the second bend when he was challenging Flaming Moneybags. Hello Hammond was out the back, got traffic, he gets stopped, he gets starts, and wow, he flew into the escape. He's clear to the escape. I think, as I keep saying, he is definitely one of these dogs who'd be better in much better company, and he got his wish in the second round. We won't mention the draw, but 29.56 for Flaming Moneybags, a good winner. On to Heat 19. This was a great tussle. Born Warrior on the outside, Explosive Boy on the inside, with the inside runner Explosive Boy getting there in the final strides to deny Born Warrior. Neither of them hit the lids. The 2 real early speedsters didn't hit the lids. Instead it was Cricket Score and Skywalker Silla, who both absolutely rocketed it out, but Explosive Boy shot up the inside. Born Warrior showed tremendous pace on the outside. To clock 17.15 off that start was unbelievable running. He drifts off the last bend. He does tend to do that. I suppose that's where he loses his time most of the time, but I'll tell you one thing, he could easily be in front in a Derby semi-final or final. He has that much pace. Explosive Boy, though, he's just a strong greyhound these days. I remember back in the early days, he was very much a speedster. It was all about that explosive power early. Now he just has it everywhere. I thought it was a very likeable display by Explosive Boy, who seems to be around forever, and Born Warrior. If I was on him anti-post, I wouldn't be too concerned about getting picked up.
No, definitely not. You took the words out of my mouth. Explosive Boy, he was dog of the year last year, and he must be some pleasure to be connected with. Like you said, at the start of this dog's
career, 22 out of 38.
And look at the calibre, and every like the only races he runs are in the big competitions. And like you said, when this lad came onto the scene, it was his burst of pace for the first 50-60 yards. He blew everybody away, and now he's coming from behind in the Dundalk International. He's picking up Born Warrior here tonight. His running style is adapted and changed. He does feel a more complete greyhound now, even though he probably doesn't have that electric break that he had in at the start of his career, but he's just got a great will to win. He's a super greyhound. It was the race of the night. It was the buckle of the night. Like, Born Warrior done absolutely nothing wrong. This dog only having his 13th start. He's had 9 wins already. He very easily could have won tonight. It was a short head or a head that was in it at the line. 17.15. I'd love to know what clock he's doing from the winning line to the third bend, because he even though you'd say tonight he's probably
flat-footed.
He was, but he's still only done 350 last week, or 350 the last time, and 349. He's probably not a brilliant trapper, but from the winning line, like you said, similar to Coulivanny Hofford, he just takes off
and runs a remarkable corner as well.
Yeah,
great bend runner.
Yeah, and just a special mention there for Skywalker Silla. Obviously, we saw how good she was. She's fierce lightly raced for a bit of her ability, but you know when she gets to the track, Mick obviously has her fully tuned up. She's obviously been a little bit tricky to train, but on her day, she's a superstar herself. Delighted to see her still in the competition.
Yeah, she won the Consolation Derby last year. I just want to give a mention to the dog that actually qualified in fourth there, Beepers Chris. It was only his 11th start. He actually outpaced Skywalker Silla down the back straight, took third. She rallied again to beat him. But I just think that Beepers Chris is one to keep on your radar. Just showed plenty of pace in the feet in fourth. Be a long way back, but can run a bit. Don't worry about that. Heat 20, a lot of people's banker of the round, certainly banker of the night, Kilgraney Sydney for me. It was the one time he got his box in recent times, and he made the most of it. Although if you did back him at short odds, you were worried after a stride or two because he didn't. He came out flat-footed. Yeah. In contrast, Crafty Bonanza flew out, couldn't really contain Ross Dame into the opening corner, and then all of a sudden Kilgraney Sydney got up the inside, big 80-pounder, get out of my way. He gave them a shove. Ross Dame went back to fifth, believe it or not. Kilgraney Sid went on about it, wins comfortably in 29.64. Tommy Buggy always has one in the Derby that can go a few rounds. He has 2 or 3 this year perhaps. Kilgraney Clang we'll get to a little bit later on, but Kilgraney Sydney, if he keeps getting that red jacket, and they would paint it on his back if they would be allowed, he's a player. Certainly if he finds his trapping boots, he's a very, very fast greyhound. But a special mention to Ross Dame. He was sent back to fifth. He took off down the back straight. He's second again at the third bend. Runs a remarkable race to be beaten as far as he is, but showed unbelievable pace. But yeah, Kilgraney Sydney I think is the dog that will go probably furthest of them all.
Yeah, Thomas, like you said, every year he brings 1 or 2 up here, slightly maybe under the radar, and they appear. This lad's probably not that much under the radar, just given the runs that he has done earlier in his career. I think this lad really has a touch of class to him. I think maybe he's picked up a niggle or two. He looked an absolute superstar below in Limerick. Unfortunate to go out down there, but hasn't done a whole lot of racing since then, and he's probably, he's obviously clearly in good health now, but given the fact he's had such a light campaign,
probably shy of a run or two.
Yeah, exactly, and he could thrive on these runs. I think the very best Kilgraney Sydney could easily knock 20-30 spots off 29.64.
The 17.29 tonight,
yeah,
you could certainly knock 2 or 3 lengths off that.
Yeah, and I think he's a contender now that he's back to appearing on the right direction to get back to his best. He was the class act in the field, but like you said, a real eye catcher was Ross Dame. Like
he had caught the eye a couple of times over the sprint trip in Dundalk, showing loads of pace up the home straight, and that's where he showed it tonight, down the back straight. So after bend 2 is where he takes off.
Yeah, he's clearly a lot of ability. You would feel for Crafty Bonanza Connections, because he looked like he was going to lead around the bend and just got trouble at the corner, but Sunshine Dream picking up the pieces also to qualify for Brendan
Stayed
Mansell.
on strongly, yeah. How often do we say that about Brendan Mansell?
All the time.
Peachtree East was fourth there, didn't qualify, but actually was pitching off the second bend, and he was a very big price, so a decent run in defeat. Moving on to Heat 21, and this was a cracking contest. As a contest, this was a cracker. You had 4 greyhounds pitching throughout, really. Magical Cuba was the dog that came through 2 in a row, and Iso Fantastic went up fastest. He'd been running very well. He was a bit of an insulting price for a dog of his ability. He'd done 28.32 last time out at Drumbo Park. I suppose his versatility is nearly against him. He's only 750 yards here, 600 yards, 575, 550. Probably people see it as a bit too sharp, but as I've said, he's been campaigned over 525 of late, and he's sharp because he led tonight from 2 in a row. On the outside, Magical Cuba came challenging into the bend. Ballymacleon was just on their heels. Magical Cuba stayed wide, conceded a bit of ground. Iso Fantastic 2 in a row, challenging off the second bend, but Magical Cuba just went through the gears down the back straight, showed the great dash to go to the front well before the third bend, and then stays on strongly. He's a very talented tracker in his night. Consistency has been an issue. He can go up fast, he does it all, he motors down the back, he stays strongly. I thought at one point earlier this year, he did 29.37 here one night. I thought that could be a Derby winner. He still could be a Derby winner, but he's going to have to find that consistency. 2 in a row was a little bit flat-footed down the back straight. Not the first time I found myself saying that. I just wonder. He's still a very fast greyhound, obviously very natural starter, stays on well. But it was a great clash. Magic Cuba was a deserving winner though.
He was, and I think he won the race between the first 2 bends. We've mentioned a couple of real good bend runners so far in the Derby. Generally they're railers. This has not. He's a wide seed, but he was like a slingshot from the middle, the crest of the bend to about the sprint boxes was where he really put the the race to bed. Now, whether ISO Fantastic and 2 in a row were slightly rubbing against each other, which exaggerated it, I'm not so sure, but it was, even in your own commentary, he was third, sort of midway between the first and second bend, and passing the sprint box, he took it up. Like it was that move that he made. Whether it was just him or there was a little bit of nudging between 4 and 5, I'm not so sure, but I really like this dog, Magical Cuba. Again, very lightly raced. A lot of these dogs are coming in slightly maybe underprepared and have had very light campaigns, which can only play into their hands as the competition goes on. 2 in a row. Look, this lad came with a massive reputation and lived up to it. I don't know how many races he was unbeaten when he first arrived here at Shelbourne. Things just haven't gone his way in his last couple of starts. Maybe getting tapped a little bit down the back. I was a little bit more disappointed in his early pace. At the start of his career, I thought when he hit the ground it was just awesome. I remember seeing him in Waterford, I think it was, in the unraced, and when he first came to Shelbourne he drew one a couple of times and he was brilliant to the corner. In good quality races he made them look slow to the corner. ISO Fantastic, take nothing away from Michael Core's runner, a brilliant versatile sort. 2 in a row, who's been Derby favourite for months now. When he started, I was a little bit disappointed I didn't clear him to the corner. I know they went to the bend side by side, but I thought 2 in a row earlier in the year had a bit more early pace about him. Now hopefully he'll get that back. There's still a serious greyhound there, but yeah, it was a cracking race, the outside 3 dominating.
Yeah, just to mention the Ballymacleon there, he got a bit caught up in the opening strides, but was right on their heels at the bend and motored down the back straight to be right on their heels still at the third bend. He's obviously a half brother to Pastana. I think he's very talented. I think when he gets his trapping right, I've been saying that for a while about him, I still think there's a run or two in him. Don't dismiss him in any heat of the Derby. He's one that could go ping and just land at a decent enough price. Auntie 22, and here was at Lacazette. Like this is just, I know this is a dog that you've been very fond of. I'm very fond of him myself. Been running well over 5.75. Got a serious injury last year. Noel Neiman has nursed him back, and this is his third Derby campaign. He's gone 4 years of age. It's just great to see him winning, Kevin.
It was, and look, his win, I'm delighted he got a win. I'm a massive fan of this dog. I've had arguments with Damien over prices in derbies gone by where I'm always short on him. I just think he's a brilliant attitude and he does everything. Like, he starts reasonably well, he paces up well, he goes down the back well, and he stays the trip very strongly. Tonight's only his 6th ever win. He hasn't probably won as much as...
Just look at the companies
exactly.
He's keeping, though, and he's 13 seconds. And he's absolutely genuine as the day is long.
Exactly, and he's nearly $5,000 in prize money picked up, and that tells you the calibre of races that he's running in. For a dog to have only had 6 wins ever and still pocketing $5,000, it just goes to show the level that he's running at all the time. He never does a thing wrong. You could hear in your commentary, it was a brilliant commentary, just what it meant to know to everybody, because he has been a stalwart. Callaway Masters ran very, very well. Ballymac Bronze just a February 21. I know you talked about this, that up at the top of the card, and definitely he's one eligible for the Kirby next year.
He's just showing hints.
He is, yeah. Because Liam, I know they start them quite young, but they never put serious pressure on them. The dogs learn as they go along, and look, as a February 21, the world is at his feet, really, isn't it? When it all comes together for him, he could be anything.
Yeah, Droopy's Glass qualified in 4th there. She's going to need to find her trapping boots. It's just not happening for her in the early yards, but the gears are still there. On to E23, another cracking contest this. Sentimental Lad, the 5.75 yard record holder, well housed in 6. Vincenzo going up fast with him. The two of them had a great booking into the corner. Vincenzo seemed to lose his footing briefly on the bend, and that was all that Sentimental Lad needed. Shot to the front, and when he goes to the front, forget about it. You're not catching him. He's 30.59 for 5.75 yards. There's dogs in the Derby would like to do it for 5.50 yards. He's exceptionally fast, but Vincenzo was right in his heels at the third bend, swung a little bit wide off the last bend. You'd expect Sentimental Lad to stay on very strongly to score 2 eye-catching runs, first and second, and then you've Droopy's next one, who came out of the clouds. She actually leads to the escape. She is some pacey lady. 3 very fast greyhounds that could easily go deep into this Derby.
Yeah, and like you said, if starting off with Sentimental Lad, when he comes out like that, he's awesome. He really is. He's brilliant. I thought he had a great chance of winning the Champion Stakes. It just didn't happen for him. But once he straightened up off the second bend, once he trapped the way he did, and he was already pacing up alongside Vincenzo, the race was over. I didn't think, if you're saying you have a 5.75 record holder, 30.59 was going to do 17.20 to the third bend, it just gives you an idea how well he came away running. If you've backed Vincenzo, I'm happier tonight than I was before race.
And if you haven't backed him, or you were looking to back him, hopefully on the back of a defeat, you're not going to get a bigger price.
No, definitely not. If I was pricing it up, I wouldn't. I was blown away by how well this dog ran. I thought off the second bend, Sentimental Lad goes on, wins by 3 or 4 lengths. That was what I was expecting. like you said, Vincenzo was all over his back at the third bend. He was never going to beat him, even if he'd got through there. I think Sentimental Lad off the last bend would have kicked him and probably would have pulled out another bit. But I was hugely impressed by this dog, Vincenzo. I know he done some flashy runs. Then he went to Toast, done a couple of flash runs, left. He's come back now to Pat. I know he picked up a little bit of a knock in Limerick earlier in the year when he came back to Pat, but he has him singing at the moment. Clearly the champion 550 hasn't taken anything out of him. I was very impressed.
Yeah, so too me, says me. Druby's next one back in third. She's very fast. She'll want to find her top and do. It's one of the few heats of the Derby where I can't imagine any of them would be a bigger price in the next round than they were before the first round. On to heat 24. Weekend Dream, the Juvenile Classic winner, after I'm not going to say a lackluster return, because he came up against Velasco into the corner and he couldn't quite clear him. That's fair enough. Tonight just did things very smartly. Not a flying start, 355, not fly to the third bend, 1726, but he just did everything right, and I'm sure Pat Guilfoyle and Lars and Anita Wikander, who are living the dream. They said he always wanted a Derby runner. They have a Derby winner. They have a dog that's winning a heat of the Derby, and he can improve considerably for this run. A very pleasing run all round.
Massive. He looked to be fading a little bit coming towards the bottom bend and kicked again. He really dives for the rails off that last bend. A dog I think would take lengths off 29.62. Another one that I just looked at him, watching him running, I said to myself, yeah, there's 4 or 5 lengths left there. You could just tell he's another dog. What a team of dogs Pat Guilfoyle has for this Derby, and it really seems like he's targeted. Not many of them ran in the Champion Stakes, and he seems to have left them off for a couple of weeks, whether that was injuries or designed. A lot of these have come in with 2-3 month breaks that are really fresh to attack this Derby, and his early pace really impressed me. Yes, it mightn't have been the strongest heat on paper, but what he did to the corner really impressed me. I thought he tired a little bit between the bottom 2 bends, rail like a cat up the home straight, 29.62. This lad's very capable of doing sub 29.30. He is definitely a player in my book.
Yeah, Anna Bailey ran very well in second. Kilgraney Clang, I thought, got a bit caught up early on, showed plenty of pace. He's rapidly progressive, no question about it. I wouldn't go dismissing their claims next night. I can't remember their draw, Anna Bailey and Kilgraney Clang, but they can run a bit, and if there were biggish prices, just keep them in mind. Keep them in mind. Weekend Dream is the dog to take out of it. Now heat 25. We might just skip across this heat, will we? Nothing happening in it. Anyway, Sing Along Sally, the Derby runner-up, absolutely pings. She goes round 3 or 4 clear. That's it, isn't it? It's over. Just so happens that Ballinabula Ed, our kennel companion, absolutely came out flat-footed. And flat-footed is the best way to describe it. Just looked like it was a case of, the boxes are open. I'll go now. He's a mile back into the corner. He flew into the bend to go second. He runs the most remarkable first 2 bends. He's just such a beautiful, fluent mover, and he takes her into the third bend. It was stunning. He wins in 29.62. He's after giving them 4 or 5 lengths early. Pat Buckley told me he needed the run. Well, if he needed the run.
Well, he probably did.
He's probably capable of doing
28.10
out or 29.10 out there next week. Yeah, he's such a fast greyhound. He deserves to be Derby favourite. You are going 8-1 clear favourite at this stage.
Oh yeah, and the part that you left out as well is that he took Sing Along Sally, one of the tightest railers in the country, on the inside. It was breathtaking. We said it here last night. We've said it for years gone by. For me, clocks aren't as important as what my eye anyway or the way I judge a race. I tend to judge it on what they're running against, and he's only running against Sing Along Sally, who was narrowly touched off in the international recently, second in the BoyleSports Derby last year, and with all due respect to Sing Along Sally, he ragged her from 2 to 3. Like you had to. It was one of those races that, standing there watching it live, it just gave you goosebumps.
You're giving a fella a description on the phone afterwards, he wouldn't quite believe you until he saw it himself. Yeah,
it was genuinely, if you said the Sing Along Sally was a good A1 bitch, it was still impressive. But when you take into account how good she is, and don't forget how good she is, it's very easy to just focus on what Ballinabula did, but she's exceptional. She's one of the best bitches we've seen over the last 2 years, and what he did off that start, and it wasn't even just how badly he started, she flew the lids. She winged out halfway to the corner. The race is over in my book, and you're looking at Ballinabula. Can he get a run around the opening 2 bends to get himself into a position? In the back of your mind, you probably knew that Pat left him a little bit undercooked, is he in jeopardy of going out?
Undercooked.
That's what you'd be thinking. And he just what he did, it was breathtaking. He goes up on the outside of two dogs at the opening bend. He leaves them in his wake at the second bend. He sets up Sally off the second bend, and the scary thing is, halfway down the backstretch you knew he was taking the third bend off her. Like, even before he joined her and went by her, it was incredible. It really was. I know it's only 29.62, and I know we're probably overhyping him
Cooler
slightly
at the end of the evening as well, but just forget about the time.
Clocks go
a
out.
lot to say.
Yeah, like how
I just want to mention Drubby's Edison was back in third. I thought it was a very encouraging run. Didn't happen for him early, found a little bit of bother, was third down the back straight, had Oak Front Cadet right on his heels, and then joining him nearly on his shoulder at the third bend. To outstay that runner up the hump straight was very encouraging from Drubby's Edison, and his anti-post supporters will be happy to get through after it looked a little bit dodgy at halfway. I thought he'd come on for the run considerably, and he certainly would have kept in your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. Like this, it looked like he could win a Kirby below earlier in the year. He's got much better early pace than he showed tonight. He didn't trap the way he can either, so definitely a step in the right direction for him. The front three in this heat, and Oakview Cadet, who we know has gone through as well, but Sing Along Sally, Drubby's Edison, Ballinabuled, they are three big players.
On to the final heat, a marathon session at Shelbourne Park over the last 2 nights. We got there. Callaway Pro-Am was a good winner. He's actually a bit like a sire. He never really seems to be doing anything too flashy, but he goes up well, he motors down the back, and he stays. He's just a big, hard running greyhound. Just a lot to like about him. Owen McKenna would be delighted to have him in the kennel. He's a dog that could go a few rounds, no question about it. Just a nice prospect. He is a September whelp, so if he does get knocked out, he'll have the Juvenile Derby to aim for. I think that's one to keep in mind for the Juvenile Derby. Behind him, Clona Blue tried his best to close the gap around the bottom two bends, just couldn't get there. Looked like Bucklesbutt picked him up for second, but she didn't. She just failed. She ran well. She's not quite getting into the corner. She's better drawn on the inside, I'd say, going forward. That's to keep in mind there. But I think Callaway Pro-Am was the dog to take out of it. 29.64. Malibu Led wins in 29.62. We're not considering the clocks, and it's a very different scenario. But Callaway Pro-Am, he's a really nice dog.
Loved it. Loved everything about it. I really did. He's a dog. He ran in the unraced in Kilkenny. He then ran a couple of real good runs in Thurles. I've always liked him. And I think he summed them up brilliantly. There's nothing flashy about him. It's hard to say what his best attribute is. I thought tonight he showed more early than I actually thought he had, but he does everything right. He traps well, he paces down the back well, and he stays well. He's never out of a race. I really like him. A September 20 puppy, and he's only getting better. I loved him, and if he's fancy prices available, I think he could do a lot worse than sticking a few quid each way on this lad, because he's a real good attitude as well. Bacchus Leo, she's probably more suited maybe to the 525. I think that extra bit to the corner just catches her. She's a brilliant trapper, and she
525 or further.
Yeah, or further. That's it.
She doesn't want the long run to the corner, but she wants to test the stamina.
That's
she
what I
stays
meant.
Really stoutly.
Yeah, just that last extra few yards to the corner from the 550 catches her out, because she's a brilliant trapper. If she holds her position into the second bend, if she's in front of the second bend, she wins. But it's that last 15-20 yards with the 550 yard boxes, I think, catches her out slightly. But and Clona Blue for Kevin Losty, they'll be delighted to be going through to round 2.
Yeah, that's it. 26-8. What's the Derby winner?
There's plenty of them there to pick from.
It certainly is. Listen, it's still and remains a conundrum. We will look forward to the second round with relish. It'll be on Friday and Saturday night next. We will have 8 heats Friday, 8 heats Saturday. As Kevin said at the start, we have seen the Derby champion. Okay, we have a stronger clue as to what it is, but we're not going to put our finger on it just yet. But that's it from Shelbourne Park. It's late into the night. It's well into Sunday morning here. Best of luck. We'll see you next time.